Hello, I'm Mandi Lockley for the Academy of Astrology. This is a talk about the sun, some mythology, some facts and a little bit of relation to astrology, the astrological sun. That will be tackled more in the videos of my colleagues which are coming up next. But first of all, before we talk about anything to do with the sun, I'd like to tell you about some mini lectures we're having starting on the 31st of May. 4 of them in the lead up to our foundation course starting in September. Rod Chang will be talking about his top 10 tips for reading your chart. I will be talking at the end of June on your Wheel of Fortune, what your horoscope can tell you and what it can't. Marcos Patchett in July will be talking about where's your head at, which basically is what astrology tells you about your focus in life. And then at the end of August, Sue Merlyn Farebrother will be talking about your path of destiny, which is about the moon's nodes, very intriguing points in your chart. See the link below, click on the link below to find out more details, the dates and to sign up. We look forward to seeing you at those mini lectures. Right, but now, the sun. So, ancient civilizations looked at the sky and they saw every day the sun came up, chase away the darkness and rise until it was high in the sky. Then they saw it slowly descend until it disappeared below the horizon and the darkness reigned again. The sun brought heat and light, so it's no surprise that ancient civilizations worship the sun. And solar deities are found in the myths and stories of virtually all cultures and religions. And it's interesting that similar myths sprung up in cultures that would have had no interaction with each other. And what these solar deities represent also reflects some of the themes of the astrological sun. For example, across the myths, these gods are associated with power, strength and vitality. However, while the sun in astrology is generally associated with masculine qualities, not necessarily always men, but the masculine qualities, most mythologies had solar gods and goddesses. Actually, it went across both genders. So, a few examples, or one very quick example. In Egyptian mythology, the sun god Ra was the creator of all things and is depicted crowned with a sun disk on his head. His qualities were emulated by the pharaohs. The sun in mundane astrology, which is world astrology, represents the king or the leader. So there's that association there. Ra sailed across the heavens by day in his boat. As he rose, he was strong, but as he set, as the sun set, he became weak. He died at the end of each day and was swallowed by Nut, who was the goddess of the sky. Then he sailed onto the underworld, leaving the moon to light up our world. But he was rebirthed via Nut at dawn the very next day. So the daily cycle of birth, death and rebirth. This journey reflects how in astrology the sun represents our life purpose, our life path, our journey through life. How sometimes we're riding high and strong and other times we need to retreat and rest so we can be metaphorically reborn and grow in strength once again. How we are strong and vital is reflected in the zodiac sign our sun falls in and the connections the sun makes to other planets, etc. in our chart. Won't be talking about this right now in this presentation, but there'll be some insights in the videos to follow from my colleagues. Back to Ra. Such was his importance, some of the pharaohs incorporated his name into their own names. He was the king of the gods, they were the kings of their domain. Also, temples were built to honour Ra, and they were open to the sky to absorb the sun's rays. And some historians even believe that the pyramids represented the rays of sunlight. There are ways that we can honour the energy of the sun. For example, going out in the sunlight, warming ourselves up is a way to benefit from the vitality of the sun, but of course being careful we don't look directly at the sun and we don't spend too much time in it so we burn. Because we need to respect the sun, its power is such that we need to respect it. Wearing gold is another symbolic way of honouring the sun. Another way is reading up on solar myths. If you want to read up on solar myths, as I said, every culture, every mythology has them. The Greeks and Romans, for example, had Apollo. Germanic mythology had Sol. Hindu had Ravi. The Inca had Inti. And the Chinese had Yuyi. Now, the sun god of the late Roman period was Sol Invictus. Sol Invictus means unconquered sun. And he was celebrated on the 25th of December, the date adopted as the birth of Jesus in Christianity. Now, some scholars believe that Christianity chose that date so it fitted in with the existing festival. But others think that both the Sol Invictus and Christian festivals adopted the date because it was used by older pagan religions to celebrate the rebirth of the sun after the winter solstice. Some also believe that the story of the birth of Christ, the Son, S-O-N, is a metaphor for the sun, S-U-N, born anew after the solstice. Now, there are a lot of architecture that's believed to be calendars for the sun or to worship and honour the sun. For example, Orkney, which is off the northern tip of Scotland, was home 5,000 years ago to a Stone Age civilization. Orkney is so far north that it's very dark in the winter, the sun hardly comes up. Now, there are ruins there which are 1,000 years older than pyramids and very well preserved. It's called Mayshao, which looks like a large mound from the outside, but if you go inside it, you follow a very low, narrow chamber, which takes you into a large, very high chamber. Inside was a tomb for the dead. They found crushed up human skulls inside when they first excavated it. No light penetrated there. It was dark all year long, except at sunset on the winter solstice, which is the shortest day of the year when there's the least light. On that day, the setting sun lines up, and it still does today, lines up exactly with that passage that goes into the big chamber, and its golden light travels down the passage and floods the chamber with its light. They thought that was honouring the rebirth of the sun and also symbolising the rebirth of the ancestors. Absolutely fascinating. Well, I hope you enjoyed basking in these short stories about the sun. For more videos about the sun and about the moon and other topics, explore, enjoy, comment, and do also check our website, check out what we're doing with the Academy of Astrology, our mini lectures as I mentioned, but also our foundation course. Thank you very much.